Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of the Better Managers Briefing. I'm Anne Franca, the Chief Executive of the CMI, and every Friday at this time, we bring you perspectives and news on management matters that really matter. And today, I am absolutely delighted to welcome Edwina Dunn OBE. Now, Edwina is a serial entrepreneur. She's the founder of Dunn OBE, the data management firm, and also of StarCount. But the reason she's here today is to talk about her incredible newest venture, which is the Female Lead. And I know many of you will be familiar with the Female Lead. It's a wonderful educational charity. And today we're going to hear all about the story of its founding and its growth and future direction. So welcome, Edwina.
Thank you, Anne. I'm delighted to be here talking to you.
Thank you. Now, I remember, and it wasn't that long ago, back in the old days when we went into offices, you did come into my office and you had this wonderful, beautiful book that you had just put together. There it is, yes, the Female Lead. And you were talking to me about this great educational project. So take yourself back there. When you founded this, share with us, what were your motivations behind the idea?
Well, yes, it's amazing how quickly you forget your mindset at the time you do something, where you're creating something new. I'd finished work. I'd finished my work at Dunn OBE. We'd sold the business. And I really felt, I suppose, looking back, you tend to think, what have I learned? What did I experience? And I come out of this world where it was just completely male dominated. And it made me think about, how did I do it? Why did I do it? And what I recalled was walking into all these boardrooms and just seeing men, just all men all over the world running retailers. And they were charming, they were clever, etc. But I was this lone female voice. And I've had a great career and I've loved every minute of it. But it made me realize that it's very, very hard to be what you can't see. And that was my inspiration for the project, which is, how come we don't hear fantastic stories of women? How come we don't see them? All we talk about are women who are long dead, old, long dead women. Fantastic. But so that was it. That was my inspiration. I just wanted to tell these stories. And I thought, if I could get them into schools, I might be able to inspire girls at a time where it would normalize that women are amazing and they're diverse and they're interesting.
Well, that's great, and I can relate very much to your feeling and why you wanted to do that. Now, of course, since then, the Female Lead has experienced phenomenal growth and success. You have over 3 million followers on social, and that makes the Female Lead one of the most successful sites for women anywhere in the world. So I'd like to ask, can you share with us some of your secrets of success? And did you really envisage it would become so popular when you first started it?
No, we absolutely didn't. We thought it was a book with some films, and then it became teaching materials. And then we looked at teens, and we looked at teens' engagement on social media. And we suddenly found, I come from a world which is all about data and science and evidence. And I'm used to talking about subjects with numbers and quantification and value. And suddenly here I was just talking about soft things, just amazing stories. But the reality was, the more I just talked about women and what they did, the more people listened. And it wasn't just girls. It became women of all ages. And so, we just started to share our stories on all the different platforms. One of the things I did learn, back in my Dunn OBE days, was that hiring young people with tremendous talent is probably one of the best things you ever do. Any leader I think, ever does. And I think that is the secret to the success of the female lead today. I have a phenomenally talented team. They're incredibly young. Have they ever done it before? Would they get in to big companies on their criteria, you know, on their skills and experience? No. Have they been the best possible people to do it? Absolutely. No one's ever taught them it won't work, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. They just do it. And it is phenomenal. And they have done it, not me. They've done
Well, that's amazing. And I know, and that is a great story, you know, giving young people opportunity and letting them get on with it, right? And to say that's been the secret of your success is quite amazing, and of course, incredibly humble. And I have noticed it's a small team, right? But you've had to put, amazingly, on your LinkedIn that here's the people who work for the female lead, and there are people posting to claim to work for you that don't.
Can you believe it? I cannot believe the brazenness of people basically saying that they work for the female lead. And it really worries me, because it worries me that if they can lie about something like that, I hope it's not life and death for them. But, you know, if they can lie about that, what advice are they giving people? So it does worry me. And that, you're absolutely right. That's why we do it, because the team is actually quite small. We have a great many supporters, advisors. We have, you know, fantastic companies who've kind of, you know, given us a bit of a boost and a help. But yeah, the team itself is very small.
Yeah, no, and it is a phenomenal project, and I'm going to ask this as well because it's very timely. I do remember when you launched the book, one of your female leads that you were photographed with at that time, and an early supporter was Oprah.
Honestly, that was really one of the best moments ever. You know, the other one, actually, before I talk about Oprah, we went to a red carpet event with, I think it was it? Yeah, it was Disney. That's right. It was Disney. It was Captain Marvel. That's right. And I suddenly found myself on this red carpet, and I stood, and this is really pathetic of me, but I suddenly found myself standing next to Jude Law. And I have always prided myself on, like, please don't be embarrassing, don't say anything embarrassing. Turn around to look at him, and literally my mouth opened. I went, and I found nothing came out. And I'm still embarrassed about that today. I was completely starstruck because he was even more handsome in reality than he was on the screen. But I'm ashamed of myself for doing that. Luckily, when I met Oprah, she was charismatic. The thing I loved about her, she was the same behind the screen as she was when she stepped out on the stage. She was absolutely wonderful. She told this fantastic story, which she shared with the audience, which was, you know, the reason I am so successful, the reason I am so rich is because I've been underestimated at every point in my life and my career. People have told me, you won't do that. You won't make it. You won't get the audience that you want. And the reason she got it is she made them write it in the contract and said, well, if I do, I get half of it, right? She did it. And I love that story because she just said they didn't believe it, so I used it to my advantage. So clever.
That is very clever, and it's something that we're going to come on to talk about when we talk a little bit more about your latest research. But obviously, the female lead has evolved significantly. You've become much more social, but it is all about celebrating female leadership, right? Those stories that you couldn't see back when you were running dunnhumby. So what are some of the key differences in the approach to leadership that you think that women take in your, you know, as you've been doing this and observing all those stories?
So this is prior to the research, Anne, that we're talking about now. This is the stories. I think there are some themes that certainly follow through. I think there's definitely passion, ambition, however you want to call it. It's that really strong sense of, I have to do this. I believe in it. No one else does, but I believe in it. And that comes through in all of them. The other thing is like daring to be different. You know, this hasn't been done before. No one else is doing it. No one actually thinks I can do it, but I am willing to put my head above the parapet, do what I believe in. So that daring to be different is very important. Mm-hmm. Staying curious, you know, learning the whole way through, being humble enough to say, I don't know, but I'm going to learn. Mm-hmm. You know, that's really important. And at the same time, another thing that I think women are phenomenally good at, asking for help. You know, the more people you ask, the more you learn, the cleverer you become. And it's respecting the people around you as well. It's sort of not feeling that you know everything that yourself. These are the traits of fantastically successful leaders.
Yeah, that's a great summary. By the way, if you want to ask Edwina a question, please put it in the chat. We'll be taking as many questions as we have time for. But meanwhile, all of those attributes that you've outlined, one could argue, have become perhaps even more important than since COVID. But you've also just done another great piece of research, your latest piece of research. And it reminds me of that Oprah story where she said, you know, if I hit my numbers, I'm going to take half. And that impressed you. But your latest research is called the Entitlement Gap. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what you found?
Yes, thank you. This is like really front of mind for me right now. So we've turned our attention to women at work. The reason being that we see men's careers midlife going like that. So their career trajectory continues to take off. They grow. And what happens to women is about that 30, 32, 33-year age group, it begins to go like that, and sometimes even like that. And it's a real worry. And I think it's causing many, many corporates to be very concerned because, you know, the skills gap gets even greater because, you know, losing women who are incredibly talented at a point in time where they're probably at, you know, some of their greatest skill and peak is really worrying. So we set out to collect data. We worked with Dr. Terry Apter, Cambridge psychology doctor, and we were looking at the factors, and we wanted to separate myths from persistent problems. Now, the myths I can tell you about, which is what's been said many, many times, women don't have ambition. Wrong. They do, and they're very comfortable with it. 2, women's commitment after children, not very good. Wrong. Just as strong, just as important. Women don't like earning more than their partner, especially if that's a man, right? Wrong. Women don't mind at all because it's freedom and control, right? Nothing wrong with that. 4th one, imposter syndrome is bad. Worrying that you're not good enough is bad. Wrong. Makes you work harder, makes you cleverer, makes you more ambitious. And then the final myth, women don't like taking risks, you know, very risk averse. Not true. Women are careful and they pick the risks that give them more advantage, more control, but they will take them. So those were the myths we found.
A lot of myths.
A lot of myths. And I think being able to put them to one side and say, this is not what is holding women back is really important. What we did find were things that were causing some concern. So we found some persistent problems. And, you know, we've kind of encapsulated some of them in this term, the unentitled mindset, which is really all about the fact that the legacy that women have inherited is that they're very lucky to have reached this very senior position. They're very lucky that they're allowed to take maternity leave. that they're allowed to leave at 5 o'clock at the end of the day. And because they're lucky, they probably shouldn't ask for a promotion, and they probably shouldn't ask for a pay rise because they get other benefits. So flexible benefits have become almost the alternative to women feeling the entitlement to say, I'm good, I'm great at my job, pay me more, promote me. And so this mindset, you know, we're really trying to really be very open about, and to actually ask men to help women release themselves from this mindset, because it's not just men who may sometimes think it, it's women who think it too. So it's
Be more
really,
entitled.
really important, very important. So the whole campaign is about talking about it, maybe having a laugh about it. You know, I bump into someone in the street and I say, so, you know, they bump into me in the street and I say sorry. It's what we do, right? It's kind of silly, but we do it. So we're going to try and out that, and then we're going to try and develop some policies and processes that really are much more around women and will actually help the office. So, you know, in this opportunity with COVID, let's build back better. But very importantly, let's build back so that women stay and their career goes like that in the future.
I think that's a great aspiration, and it's going to be the topic of my next question. But basically, you're saying be more entitled, actually be more Oprah, right? You hit your numbers, you ask for half, you know, you ask for that promotion, right?
Yeah.
And also back yourself, right? Back yourself more in your results and your capabilities. I think it is a great and very important message. But you mentioned COVID and building back better. Do you think enough consideration is being given to the specific challenges COVID poses for women in policy considerations as we build back better? And are there specific things you'd like to see government policymakers and employers do to address these?
Was such an important question. Look, we talk about the mental load on women. Now, the mental load isn't just doing the work at home and doing the work for the office. It's the fact that the woman sort of owns all the complexities of childcare, you know, perhaps organizing the food in the house, you know, when the house gets cleaned, when the bedding gets changed, play dates or no play dates. The mental load is what is really damaging women's ability to feel liberated to be the best they can be at work. So it's not just who does the housekeeping, it's who worries that the housekeeping is done. And that's something that I think is just really important. I think if we can build back, not just with working from home, but the idea of jobs built around the kind of flexibility that women need, we can liberate all that talent. So economic recovery, fundamentally important. 51% of the workforce, female, right? 51, we're not a minority, we're 51%. So how do we keep that? Let's design jobs that excite women, adapt to women, where we actually ask women, not based on myths, but reality, how can we really help? I think it would be super exciting, because what we find is women are, you know, confident, ambitious, really desperate to keep working because they love it. It makes them feel fulfilled.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And of course, the other thing that I want to just touch on before we have one more question and go to questions. So many of the Build Back Better industries, technology, green energy, infrastructure, at the moment, these are all very heavily male dominated and actually heavily white male dominated, with low participation of women and ethnic minorities. So what would you like to see done to make sure that we actually don't increase the gap between women and men and hinder progress? as we invest heavily in these industries?
Well, I think you raised some really interesting data there. I mean, the trouble is if we do nothing, we will get the same result. I mean, we should know that as leaders. You know, if you don't change anything, you get the same. So if we build back with the same rules and the same champions and the same criteria, we are going to get exactly the same. So we have to change it. I'm disappointed to hear that the gender pay gap reporting has been suspended for the second year since it was introduced 4 years ago. So, we've actually written to the Secretary of State, who I know is a wonderful woman, Liz Truss, fantastic, to say, please, can we have it? Because just at the moment, we might be getting some results. It's been suspended again.
Yeah, till October it has been, but we are saying report on time. Hopefully, more companies will report on April. But they have reinstated it, but it's a 6-month delay. So.
Right. Well, you are much more up to date, and I thank goodness that you keep your eye on all of these things, because it is important. And I think, people often say to me, what's the problem? Women have equal rights now. Why are you still talking about this? And, the answer is because we're not moving the dial in the way we absolutely need to.
And we were right. We were right there with you campaigning for it to be reinstated. So I know that's something we were doing together, and it worked. So there we go.
Yay, great.
Okay. Just tell us briefly on, where would you like to take the female lead now in the future? You've got, such success with it, a great, bright future. What do we have to look forward to?
Well, the most important thing is we want to be an honest channel for women's stories and voices. So we want to keep showcasing what women think, what they believe in, and what they want. And that's the most important thing to us. And so we want to be wherever that's happening, whether it's LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram, wherever, that's where we want to be. The second ambition, because I bring my data and technology bit to it, the second bit is I want to curate good, relevant content for women. And so the thing that you're going to see coming very soon is we have built a very, very simple but effective, we can call it a recommendation engine or a suggestion engine, but it's a self-service. As you begin to work out who you are, where you are in your career and life, and we have a survey that people are going to be able to take. It's all free and it's very easy. And then from there, we can recommend content to build your skills, build whatever you want, your strengths, strengthen your weakness, whatever it happens to be. And it's all free. And it's going to be books and films and tutorials and everything. There'll still be stuff that people want to pay for, and it's much more in depth, but we just want to really promote the free stuff for everybody.
Well, that sounds like a fabulous future, and I'll really look forward to that. And I know it'll be just very high quality advice. And so we'll look forward to that. But meanwhile, we've got questions. Our first question is from Ali. Hi, Edwina. Great to hear your insights today. I'm interested to know if you had any particular female role models or mentors that inspired you during the early part of your career, and what did they teach you?
Yeah, it's a really lovely question. And I always feel slightly ashamed that I can't roll off a list of fabulous women who helped me along the way. I think I got a lot of inspiration from the people I worked alongside. And I did work with some tremendous women, who who I learned from because they were different to me. And I've always had a great respect. I call it diversity, and I really mean diversity in the true sense of the word. They would approach things differently to me. They would speak them differently. they'd have different skills. And I think the thing I've learned the most from is that in my impatience to get across my view and my ideas, one can really fail to appreciate that there are other perspectives and other recommendations and other ideas. And learning to hear those first is the hardest thing I've ever learned to do. I don't always do it very well, but when people give their ideas, I think it's fabulous. There was a lady called Marjorie Scardino who I met. You might well know. I mean,
former boss of Pearson.
Listen, I met her and I wanted to be Marjorie Scardino. I thought not only did she have the best voice I ever heard, but she was so clever. And yeah, I really wanted to be Marjorie Scardino.
Well, there you go. There's a pretty good role model. Okay, a question from Patrick. Edwina, I'm interested to hear if you have any thoughts on the impact that can be made in Africa. ESSA is working on an exciting program to support women leaders in education.
Well, you know, my dream is that we take the female lead and all of its resources to many different countries. I would absolutely love that. We really only focus on schools and education in America and the UK. We're talking at the moment to take it into Brazil, and I've just met the most phenomenal female leader in India who might help me with India, which would be amazing. Africa would be fantastic. One of my female leads from the last book is Nimco Ali. If any of you have ever met or heard Nimco, she is charismatic. She is an impassioned campaigner, and she's always trying to get me connected into African society, African campaigns. I mean, all I need are people who can help me bring it there and open up to the schools. So
it sounds like Patrick might be able to do that, and I know this Patrick, so I can connect the two of you.
Sounds good.
Question from Dan. Hi, Edwina. Are there any female leaders that have emerged since you published the book that really inspire you?
Honestly, all of them. I mean, you take something different from all of them. Christiane Amanpour, she says it so brilliant. I absolutely love her. Ava DuVernay, she's a woman after my own heart. I mean, she takes no prisoners. She talks about how do you become an entrepreneur, and she just goes, you just start. It'll be messy. You'll make mistakes, but you just start. She's phenomenal. I mean, she's a filmmaker extraordinaire. Sandy Powell, costumier, Oscar winner, BAFTA winner, absolutely phenomenal. She's been such an advocate for the female lead. She takes her female lead bag down the catwalk when she goes to all these, gala events, and she's wonderful. She had a suit, she made a suit, and she got it signed by all the stars, Leonardo DiCaprio and, Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, Cate Blanchett. So she's got this suit with all these names on, and we're going to shoot it for the next female lead book.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we'll look forward to that. So a question from Kathy. Any tips we can offer to young women just graduating in management? I have a high number of ethnic students about establishing their worth and their careers.
Well, yeah. How do you showcase what you're capable of? Do you know the interviews that have always captivated me is when someone brings something that they've done or made themselves with no commission, but because they're interested, whether they've made a short campaign, a website, a short film, written a blog. That's what I look for. Because it's something that people believe in, and it shows that they're self-motivated and they're willing to put in the work themselves without being paid for it.
Well, that's a great tip. So showcase something that you believe in and are passionate about and have done yourself. I think that's a wonderful idea. Our last question is from Jax. Do you think that some of the setbacks that women have encountered due to COVID will have a long-term negative impact, or actually will they help us? It's made the world more aware of the disparity.
This is a really important question, and I think we sit on the wall between two worlds and two opportunities at the moment. There is no doubt in my mind that women at the moment are potentially going to suffer most from the impact of COVID. You know, maybe where they have to retreat to support the family and the complexity of life more than ever before. But at the same time, on the other side of the wall is the opportunity to redesign a world where women are given more flexibility. The rules of, you know, do I have to be in the office every day? You know, do the job descriptions have to look the same as they used to? If we can rewrite those, actually it's the best of times and the best of opportunities for women. So I think it's down to employers saying, really, let's change some of the basics and not just, are you in the office or are you not?
It's a great point. Let's be bold. That's what you said earlier. Let's not go back to doing what we've always done. We'll get the same result. Be bold, be different, and be brave. And I think that's a great note to end on. And thank you, Edwina, for sharing all these insights with us. It's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you again for doing all the fabulous things you do, and for the female lead, and for joining us today. And if you've enjoyed this broadcast, please do click on the link in the chat and become a friend of CMI, or consider becoming a member. So thank you, everybody. Happy Friday, and happy International Women's Day on Monday.
Thank you so much, Anne. Happy International Women's Day.